Sounds good. I think it's upcoming. And are we live? Let me take a look. Okay, we are live. Sounds good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon your time, John. You are connecting us on this YouTube channel. With me, I have someone special today, and with whom I also personally get inspired, and a lot of people, a lot of students, school kids especially, they are getting inspired. And whenever I give sessions to undergrad student, postgrad, and others, I especially highlight him so that they understand and they get embarrassed what kind of things they are doing in the BTech and what he has done in the school days. Let me take a moment to introduce him. He's a passionate 18-year-old innovator and entrepreneur. He's a co-founder and chief product officer at CloudAttack Edutech Private Limited, and he oversees the product vision, innovation, design, development, management, and marketing. Oh, I'm gonna be tired now. With the goal of bridging the skill gap and making India the world's leading technology hub. Please welcome and welcome with me the first youngest certified AI engineer who has acquired a lot of certifications. Even I am getting inspired from him, but I am not able to find time. Please welcome Prajwal NH. Thank you so much, Prajwal, for joining us today.
My pleasure, sir.
Awesome. So, how you are doing today? How's the things
I'm
going on?
doing great. How are you? How is everything at your end?
Going good. Just getting jealous about your LinkedIn post day by day. That's pretty much what I'm doing. But yeah, nice catching up with you again after a long time. I remember we were in April 2024 while I was there in Bangalore, right?
Yeah,
2024. Yeah, correct. Yeah. When we did one event in Amazon Bangalore campus. Sounds good. Before we start this live streaming, for everyone's understanding that this live streaming is not pointing to any organization or group of organization. We are doing this out of interest and inspiring other members in our network and subscribers. So thanks for joining. Feel free to use the live chat window because I am able to monitor it on my third screen. That should be good enough. With that, Prajwal, maybe take a second for making us more embarrassed and introduce yourself. Let's go ahead.
sure. So, I'm a young innovator and entrepreneur. My name is Prajwal NH, and I'm currently 18 years old. I turned 18 just this December. So just last year in December. And I'm like Ramnik sir just mentioned, I'm the chief product officer and the co-founder of CloudAttack Edutech Private Limited. At CloudAttack, we are basically focused on cloud technologies and into the edtech space. We're trying to gamify the entire cloud learning experience. So instead of having to go through a lot of courses and a lot of study material for people of my age, especially and youngsters, they can kind of just play around, play a game, and learn cloud computing, upskill themselves, and also land their dream jobs. So that is the vision behind CloudAttack that we have. Apart from that, I have a couple of other hobby projects that I keep working on, and a vision that I, really strive to solve every day. It's to solve societal challenges using affordable technology. So that's about me in a brief. But yeah, I think we'll get to interact more throughout this entire live stream and session.
100%. Thank you so much, Prajwal, for that. I remember our talk with your dad while I was at your home in Bangalore. I was just stunned by this thing. How your parents supported is so inspiring. Like even if I am going to turn a father in couple of years, um, finger cross. So need to understand how your parents actually educated you from the starting, right? Since eighth class and before that as well, you have been getting into those things. What about? I have a very interesting question because I think the audience is also kind of interesting to know about it. As a chief product officer, being 18-year-old, how do you approach leading teams and with potentially more experienced members than you?
I think that's a very nice question. Actually, a very interesting one that even kind of puts me in a thought sometime as well. I think it isn't something that happened very consciously, but I think it was a step by step process. So we started out as a team of two, me and my co-founder, and we were initially a team of three, but then we expanded, and then a lot of things changed here and there. But I learned on the way. So I think I can sum this up into three important lessons that I learned over this journey. That kind of made age a bifactor of whatever I was doing. It was just kind of he used to, like you were mentioning right now, to wow people. But I was able to control all the negative parts of it, of, people kind of sometimes speculating that, okay, this guy's 18. Is he really, genuine, or is he really someone who's done all of this? So first thing I would say is upskill yourself. I think there's nothing more important than learning every day. It can be in technology, in business, anything, everywhere. Some people like to upskill reading books. I personally like to upskill through entertainment in terms of, like, YouTube videos, tons of podcasts. I'm a huge podcast person as well. So how much ever you can and whenever you can, I feel it's very important to keep upskilling yourself, learning new things. Second thing would be, of course, the culture. I think in the organization that becomes very important. We always had a culture that age is just a number, because a very fun fact here, when we started, I was 14 years old when we started CloudAttack. My co-founder was 41. So it is two complete different generations together. It is almost, reverse of digits. Very ironic, fact altogether. But it's very important that we have a culture where age is just a number, and it is not something that decides your experience, or how much you have a say in the team. So even if there was someone probably younger than me or much older than me, I think they would have the same amount of overall say in the team, just as anybody else in their 20s or 30s. So that culture was always there from top to bottom. And yeah, I think with these two things, it's very important to also acknowledge that age is just another number. So it's not easy. It's of course not easy, because a fun incident, when I was doing interviews, so I've conducted a couple of technical rounds of interviews, and almost the entire team that's there, they would have gone through one or the other round of an interview with me. So I would purposefully have my camera off, right? Because after they come to the office, see stuff around, they know, okay, this is actually something that's happening. But before that, I didn't want them to feel ki, what's going on, boss? There's someone, 16 years old, 17 years old, who looks so young and is interviewing me. So I didn't want them to feel overwhelmed or doubtful. So I would have my camera off. But when they joined the team, and after our interactions and all of that, they would realize that, okay, I mean, he's also someone among us, and uh, he's someone we could collaborate with. And I learned equally from my team, and I try to contribute as much as I could into our startup as well. So these are three things that I think is a takeaway in a very gist manner. The story is of course longer, but how I was able to kind of manage a team that's much older than I am.
Yeah, I remember the time when Bill Gates might have started Microsoft. So that's where I think the storyline and clashes. But yeah, it's good to see how you grew yourself and managed to get a lot of understanding and the knowledge about the things happening, and specifically you're contributing towards the education UN Sustainable Development Goal, right? That's what is primarily important.
True,
Coming to, right, in the market, AI is kind of booming a lot, and a lot of people are using it everywhere. Even students are using it for assignments. Sorry, the
a lot.
secret facts released. So how do you see that AI going to transfer the education, because you're working in education field for the next 5 years?
So I think AI is going to have, huge boom. I mean, it's already there, right? So you can see a lot of changes happening all around the industry because of AI. There's a very famous line that's, I think, trending in the market right now. I personally agree with it a lot. It's that AI is not going to take up your jobs unless and until you upskill, right? So if you learn how to, use AI in your day-to-day work, become more productive, have more output overall in terms of work and in terms of what you're, getting done. I think AI won't have or even be a threat to your job unless and until you learn how to use and adapt to AI in your day-to-day life. So the jobs part, I think, in terms of AI, and because jobs and education are very closely connected to each other, that's one thing that I am kind of more biased towards too. I think I could very freely say biased, because people have different opinions. This is my take on it. Second thing, I think, in terms of education, the way students are learning nowadays is very different. First we used to spend hours agar kuch, if you have to write a paper, or if you have to complete an assignment, learn something, we would spend a lot of time on YouTube, multiple websites, inputs, and a lot of stuff. But now it's a simple chat GPT prompt, or it's now a simple Gemini prompt, where it gives you everything that you require. And now I think AIs are getting smarter and smarter. So if, especially in field of tech, where I'm very closely related to, if I am facing some problem, right, some bug, instead of spending hours debugging it, reading 20, 30 articles of Stack Overflow. I've been here and there, right? So I used to do this pale. Now it's very simple. I go to ChatGPT, I enter my problem, enter the error. But what's changing is that it's not blind copy paste, because there's a high chance that AI is also, can have certain kinds of error. They don't know your entire system or what you're working on. That's, you would have a great idea of that. So there's still some to and fro talk that you do with the AI. There's prompt engineering for that reason. But once you have your solution, you learn. So I personally don't use AI for the same thing twice, right? Once I have a prompt and I have searched something up, I don't really need to go back and re-enter the same prompt multiple times, though I face the same problem. So I feed something to AI, learn from it once, and then I can continuously use it. So overall learning thing is changing. Then it's become much personalized. So even in CloudAttack, we have a lot of places where we try to give you a personalized learning experience, where the questions that are set are according to how much your capacity of understanding is, or how much you're already well aware of these cloud concepts or of any other concept. There are multiple platforms out there that are personalizing educational content based on AI. There's accessibility and inclusion that is increasing. We're working on a couple of things where you can have content that is translated to and from 80 plus languages. So even somebody who probably may not be able to use the phone to its fullest potential can use it. Somebody from a rural background can translate something in English, a question or any sort of content that we have on the platform, from English to Hindi, Gujarati, or any Kannada, for example, their native language. So that is another thing that AI is currently really working on. Apart from that, I think it's going to also be a huge boom in content. There are so many places I can list where people are just blindly copy pasting from ChatGPT, right? You see that thing where there's brackets with your email, your name is mentioned, or they're just copy pasting it as it is. So a lot of educational material is also now generated by ChatGPT. It looks like it's human written, but on the back end, it's someone just giving a prompt to ChatGPT, Gemini, any other AI engine, and copy pasting it there. Most of the articles you're reading is also out of AI. So these are a couple of changes that I feel, in the next 5 years, and it's happening right now, but the overall scale it will happen at is much more. So I think learning AI and how to use it is very, very important in today's age. The both application layer, how you use AI, but also, the underlying infrastructure, what it's built upon and how it's built. So I think that's something that's very important and is going to be changing constantly, right? It's very unpredictable in the next 5 years.
Understood. No, that's I would say, like, other than you, who is the youngest AI certified engineer in India, uh, is it in India or globally?
It's in India as of now
It's
because
in
it's
India
India
as of
Book of
now.
Records. But yeah,
Okay, got it. You highlighted about cloud attack. Would you like to take a minute to make our audience understand what is actually cloud attack and from where they can download it and from where they can learn more about it?
sure, sir. So CloudAttack is available both on App Store and Google Play Store. So please feel free to download it as per your platforms. So the overall idea of CloudAttack is kind of similar to Duolingo, and it's a combination of multiple other platforms that we're trying to use certain features out of. We saw, like, Duolingo is doing a great job in terms of gamification in language learning. There are multiple different apps that are trying to teach you different concepts, be it your normal K-12 segment may there is physics while are trying to do great stuff in its quizzes, all of the learning platforms that are there. We were like, why not something for cloud? Because everybody's into development now. Everybody is into some sort of the other testing or development fields that they don't realize how important it is to overall deploy the application they're building, right? And that is done using cloud. And it's not only that, but even with AI becoming such a big boom, we started cloud like back when I was 14. So that is 4 years ago almost. So that time we could still kind of see the foresee, you could foresee future of how AI is going to have such a big impact on the industry. And the backbone of AI at the end of the day is cloud. Because any model I am, willing to use or deploy is going to be hosted on the cloud. There's very specific infrastructure that cloud needs. It doesn't work on every other, not all models work on every other CPU or, minimum compute power that's required. So cloud becomes very important. One side of the problem. Second side, we noticed that the people who should be learning cloud computing are specifically the people least interested into it. That was my personal observation, because a lot of people were learning how to code. They were like, Python was a very big buzzword. Now, if you look at the industry, Python is like a very long lost thing. It's like, Python? Okay, sure, but what else do you know? Or batao is what recruiters are asking for. So we're like, it's very important that people, especially when the job market is so tight, and there's a prediction that there are around 20 lakh plus cloud jobs that will open up by 2025. It's actually in the process right now. Number is only increasing as we speak right now. So there was also a huge supply and demand gap where companies needed cloud engineers. There weren't youngsters ready to learn cloud computing. So like, let's build a platform where we connect both of these together and fix that skill gap. That's why CloudAttack was born. We basically are, in the true sense, as much as possible, a game. We want to keep it fun, keep it free of cost. There is nowhere in the app will you be asked to pay a single penny. And we're basically trying to teach students cloud computing in a fun way. We have quizzes, we have tournaments, we have leagues where you play among your friends. There's a leaderboard, and we also have prizes that we distribute to people who are on the top of the leaderboard. It can be vouchers from the biggest tech companies that you know of, to even that internship opportunities at leading cloud tech and consulting companies. So that is what we are working on in terms of CloudAttack right now. So I think the best way to experience it is, please go ahead, install the app, so you would really know, what we are doing. It's better seen and experienced than talked about.
100%. No, that's true. That's why I shared the Cloud Attack website as well in the chat window for all the viewers to download it and to understand it more. I personally, when I used it, I was like, wow, it's all about the curriculum of the cloud itself. Even I don't know about cloud, I can just download it and I can learn about it, right?
It's right.
Yeah. So you just highlighted one thing which actually triggered me to my another question. You mentioned 4 years back you started exploring cloud and tech, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So back when I was in eighth grade, I started
Okay.
with certifications. So
So what about like wasn't exam assignment extra was enough for you that you started learning about all these things in eighth grade?
yeah, that's a very funny question, very honestly. Uh, the funny answer to that is no, it wasn't enough. Uh, so I was a person who was also, I was decently good enough in school academics, but I had a huge, in Hindi mein bolte hain, kida kind of a thing, where I was very interested into technology, and also business. But at that age, I was like, I really wanted to learn stuff, and I learned hardware first. I started my overall even coding journey with Arduino. So I'm very interested with electronics, and I learned C just to be able to program Arduino. My first endeavor or interest was never in terms of software; it was always hardware. But then, COVID hit, and the amount of projects I could do, all of that was limited. I was also exposed to cloud computing and something called as the Atal Innovation Mission, AIM, AIM Series Bilateral Youth Innovation Conclave. In this was an interaction or kind of a 14-day hackathon between Indian students and Russian students. We had mentors from both sides as well, where we were building AI ML projects in different domains. Like there were a couple of students working on stock market predictions, a model for stock market predictions. My team particularly was working on an AI-based news aggregator. So we were working on all of that, and we happened to be using AWS in that particular project. I was already a certified Python programmer, because I feel that, I knew Python. I was really interested in Python. I learned it for the sole purpose of AI ML, and there's so much buzz around Python that time. I felt like, seek na hai. So I sat down, I learned Python, I got certified. But I understood the value of certifications because of that. Like a rubber stamp. Nobody came and questioned me, oh, do you know Python? How am I supposed to believe you know Python and you're so young? Everybody was like, okay, you have the certification. Acha, acha, aapko Python aata hai. You know Python. That was their, natural instinct after seeing the certification. So for this particular project, we were working on AWS. I knew Python, and I was like, yeah, I have two choices in front of me. I can either, we were managing the backend. So either I could take up the Python task, I would just be implementing what I know, or I had support from mentors. So I could take up the AWS task of configuring the AWS personalized model, writing a microservice for it, and I would have mentor support. I would get to learn something new. And the person I am, I took the, for the type of person I am, I took the second task where I, dig deep into AWS, learn what it is. And I knew only how cloud works at that point of time. I never had any hands-on experience with either AWS, Azure, GCP, nothing. So I went ahead, took up the task. It took me 2 whole days with no progress in our status meetings. And everyone was like, Acha, I've done this, I've done that, and all. I used to come up with this ideas, but when it came to updates, I didn't have much because I was still exploring. But then my co-founder, Bhavesh, was my mentor in that particular program. He came up to me and he just asked me, is everything okay? Do you need some help? Are you able to understand stuff? I was like, yeah, just give me one more day. I'm trying to figure stuff out. I finally was able to figure stuff out. Model was working, deployed, microservice was working, deployed all on AWS. And that's when it struck me that not only, coding is something that's very important, but also learning how to deploy these applications and learning beyond how to develop an app or a website is also something that's critically as important as overall just development and testing. All the standard processes that we see in developing something is that was one spark. Then I got introduced to like Microsoft Azure and tons of other platforms, and I was like, जैसे Python में certification किया था, or the way I certified myself in Python and put that rubber stamp that I know it. Why don't I try in Azure as well, or other cloud platforms as well. So I studied. I studied a lot. It wasn't that easy, but I cracked my first exam. I still remember the AZ 900. I cracked it with 97%. So out of the entire exam, I got only one question wrong. I was like, that point of time is very motivating because it's like, oh, I have a hang of this. It's something within my domain to do. That was the start, and I haven't stopped till now. I took certification after certification. It became like this personal challenge to myself. I say, you've cracked this level of certification, can you do the next? Or even on LinkedIn, you see people posting, I cracked this certification, that certification. So I would go through its syllabus, I would study, and it's like, can I crack this? Let's give it a try. I would give it a try. So one certification after the other, I kept cracking, and I achieved the highest certification that's there in Azure. That's the Microsoft Certified Azure Solutions Architect. So now I'm looking to also kind of learn other cloud platforms so that I can use the best of advantage that they have to offer. AWS, GCP, there are many more. So that is how the certification journey started, but it was interesting. I never felt like it was a burden or, I'm studying extra despite everything that I have. I took it up as a challenge to myself. I was like, in COVID between four walls anyway, was better to learn new stuff and, I'd have a quick excuse to post something on LinkedIn as well. So I was like, let's do it. So that's where it kind of started from.
Uh, awesome. That was just what should I say? I have no words. The way you actually kicked your journey towards certification, it was just mind blowing. Um, before we move on to the next question, we have a couple of questions on the chat window as well. Hema is asking that how much income hike did certification give you? Are you caring about income at all, Prajwal? That's my question to you with this.
So personally, for me, no, not at the moment. For me, CloudAttack is more of an experience. But yeah, of course, it's a business, so revenue is a thing. But my personal income, I'm not really concentrating on that at all at the moment. But I think from what I have heard, on average, if any person does a certification, is already part of tech, say into a development kind of an environment, and does a certification in cloud, there's approximately a 15 to 20%, sometimes even 30 to 50%. It's based on how well you're able to upskill yourself, how many certifications you've taken, right? Also, what level of certifications have you taken, type of job profile you're applying to, a lot of factors. But on an average, I can say it can vary between 15 to 50% of hike that I've seen over a lot of people we've trained at Cloud that and in other initiatives as well. But overall, it's a good space to be in, is my personal opinion, because there's a lot of leverage. There's less competition, more leverage, right? So it's overall a great space to be in, and certifications helps you, uh, gives you a better stand in that interview, because when the recruiter sees that okay, you're certified, you've spent months preparing for a really really hard certification exam, and these are very proctored, right? You can't move left and right during certification exam, so it's very highly proctored, though it's taken at home, and recruiters recognize this, so they know the authenticity that comes with that badge, with that certification. So that's a lot of value to your resume. If I were to compare two resumes as a recruiter, even when I'm hiring for CloudAttack, one person has learned Python, has learned Azure, blah blah blah, AWS, GCP. Another person I see just has certifications listed. my first preference will go to the person who has certifications listed. I'll call the person with the certifications to the interview first, and well, that person has more probability of being hired. So my interviews and my hiring is frozen right then and there. So it's very important, I feel, to get certified and to be equally competitive enough among all of the other applicants who are applying.
Understood. No, that's really good because when someone asks me as well while they are in their final year of undergrad or they are trying to shift their career to one domain to another domain, certification actually gives you a credibility. And that's what you mentioned, right? While in
True.
eighth class, if someone asks you, hey, Prajwal, do you know Python? So you will just throw certification in front of them. Hey, see, I have the Python certification. Why you are blaming me that I don't know about Python? So it's really,
Exactly.
that's a lot of credibility, right? Awesome. So I think, meanwhile, the questions keep coming on to the live chat. I have another question to you. Now, you mentioned in your bio and in LinkedIn, I have been getting inspired and knowing more about what you do in Cloud Attack. You mentioned that you work on product vision, innovation, design, development, management, and marketing. How come you are the king for all the domains together? If you can highlight
So
on that.
I think the one word answer for that is I'm an entrepreneur. So it's very important that I have multiple hats on. And here's the thing, right? So, when you have two co-founders, and I mean, Bhavesh has another company that he full-fledged, fully manages as well on his own. So it's Cloud that. So it's very big, and there's around 500 plus employees. There are a lot of people that report to him there as well. So I had to take on a lot of hats on at CloudAttack because of that reason, and also because I wanted to learn. Right? Of course, can't do an MBA. At least I tried to. I couldn't. There wasn't any program that would let me in at 18 years old, or as a teenager, 14, 16 years old. I was like, okay, I can't do an MBA. I can learn the same stuff on ground. And I had a lot of support as well. I would really like to mention that it wasn't like I was single-handedly doing everything, but of course I was managing, say for example HR, but I would actually have HR people, also guide me through the process, and I would learn from them, and I would share my inputs as well, and I would see, okay, how is everything going on, the process, the progress. I would keep a track of all of that. Same for marketing as well. I learned marketing through a lot of domains, and in fact, I learned marketing through a lot of trial and error. Because for the first 1 to 2 years, we didn't have any marketing person at Cloud Attack as well. It was just me, our graphic designers. In fact, even our developers were doing marketing, right? That's the beauty of a startup. So it's just all of us kind of figuring out stuff, and the funny part was by the time we hired a marketing person, we as even developers, right, in my team had such a good idea of the type of audience we were catering to that they were helping the marketing person more, key, trying to understand the user audience and all of the other aspects that we had. So we were able to bring our CAC, the customer acquisition cost, to really low number, like 10, 15 rupees almost, because we knew our audience very well. And we would target, exactly that particular audience group. So that is the multiple hats point of view. And then the last part was product vision and product. So I'm a teenager. So naturally, I know what teenagers want, and I also know what they wouldn't like. Right. So, say for example, multiple ads popping up. That's something teenagers are annoyed with. Trust me. Maybe the millennials are like okay because it's free, but the Gen Zs just want too much, right? I know that for a fact. So we can't have ads popping up everywhere. That was one suggestion, and all of these small things make a big difference. So as a teenager, I use the app not only as a developer and from a testing perspective, but I switch off all my cloud attack hats and use it as an end user. If this is the first time I'm seeing the app, I'm a teenager who knows nothing. How would I respond to it? That is very important, and that is the overall product vision strategy that we have at CloudAttack. There isn't a lot of other stuff we do. We give it to a lot of different people with different age groups. We see how they are using the app, how they like it, what they don't like. We keep a note of that, and we go on changing. So that is the multiple hats that I have at CloudAttack, and kind of how I deal with all of that.
Okay. And what about Cloud Attack? Like how it all started, like where your journey started from?
So the journey started from one phone call. And like I mentioned, Bhavesh, my co-founder, was the mentor for the Indo-Russian event that I was mentioning about previously. So I was a very overwhelmed, super enthusiastic person, in that entire 14-day thing, because it was my first time I was attending something and in an international level, and that too, I could literally directly talk to Russian students. I made a couple of friends who were Russians as well, and I got to understand how their way of doing stuff is very different. They were using Figma for their front end design, so they were responsible for front end and the coding and the designing for front end. We were responsible for back end. So I learned Figma through that particular program, but I was very excited. That time I also was a huge, fan of design. I still am huge fan of design thinking, agile, and I learned Scrum. I wasn't certified, but I learned Scrum, and I was, pitching in the. I would pitch in the meeting that, why don't we have a Scrum stand-up meeting every morning for 15 minutes, where everyone just comes up, tells their updates, and logs off and continues with their work and tasks. This was one of the ideas. I gave a lot of ideas from technical aspects as well, how we could host things, how we could make existing stuff better. I was also one of the very few people in the team who had experience with APIs. Sometimes we develop a lot of things, but we undermine the value that APIs gives us, especially as beginners. Right? Anybody experienced has good idea, but I would give ideas. Bhavesh as the mentor, I realized this later, kept a very close note of that. He's like, acha, ye kar raha hai. He knows this, he knows this, he knows this, and he kept keeping those tick marks. He also had the problem of, teenagers not being very engaged with cloud computing. So, we connected after the session as well. Bhavesh kind of texted me that let's stay in touch, and we were just discussing about cloud one fine day, and he was putting his views forward, I was putting mine. He told me about this problem. Same day, I saw my mom using Duolingo and kind of learning English and a couple of other languages. And so just trying out the app, she found it pretty interesting. It struck a spark within me. It was like, all of my friends spend time playing PUBG, so many games around. Why couldn't we gamify this entire experience? I just went to Bhavish and then I pitched this idea that can we do this, Bhavish? What do you think? And that time I used to call him sir too. The corporate culture only came in later where I called him using his first name. But I was like, sir, can we, what do you think? Is this something doable? I showed him a small prototype on Scratch that how fun we could make something um, if it's a game. Then, he rings a call to my dad the next day. He's like, sir, I was just speaking to Prajwal and I think I have an idea for launching a new startup. Do I have your permission to start it? And my dad is pretty surprised. He's like, yeah, he's a 14-year-old. Are you sure? Like, you know what you're getting into, right? And that no joke and that discussion happened and it ended out very well. My dad was also, and he's been supportive. My parents have been very supportive from the start. So it started from there. We got on, we started developing, we built the first prototype. The prototype was just built by the founders. We were three co-founders. We had one more person join us who was equally interested as well. We got on to the ground, spent a couple of months just building the prototype, refining. We had designers who were freelancers who were working for us, who would give us designs. All of that communication was going on. Then we pitched the first POC, or what we call the minimum viable product, to one of the stakeholders at a very big tech firm, a very big tech company. And she was like, she loved the idea. So she was primarily from the learning space. And when she gave us a validation that she never saw anything like this, but was very confident it would work, that's when we went all in, right? We were like, no, this is something that's going to work. Until then, we were playing in a safe space. After that, we just bombarded. We were like, yeah, we need developers, we need investment, this, that, we bring it all in. And we started working full fledged and full time on the idea. And it's been 4 years. We have 12,000 plus downloads, 6 different countries use our app. And yeah, we've been doing great ever since. And also, how can I forget? Ramnik sir's overall, support with IEEE. We've been able to do many sessions and create an impact with a lot of people associated with IEEE as well. So that's something we take into a lot of pride for ourselves.
Awesome. So, um, wow. The way you highlighted about the details is more about like how we moved on from the phone call. Then Bhavesh actually talked with your dad, and amazing. So, what are the next steps? What's next in your life now? You have already achieved a lot in India as well, globally as well, not specifically in India. But what about next? What are you going to do and break through in the on the planet? Because I remember one quotation which is actually on front of me from Steve Jobs: "The people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do." I believe that's purely depends, purely highlights what you are doing. So
Thank
maybe
you
you
so
can
much, sir.
highlight if in case you want to share some public information to the people, what are your next steps in your career or life or something?
Sure, sir. So, I mean, I'm also a believer where, the future is very unpredictable. So, I never knew I would, have a startup at 40 in CloudAttack and all of that. But with some plans that are kind of determined and that I'm working towards, one of them is CloudAttack, definitely. We are working towards we were B2C all this while. We're trying to see how we can go B2B as well. Deliver training and deliver, use CloudAttack for a larger group of audience together. Like we don't target one user individually, but a lot of people who are interested in cloud together and how we can cater to them. That's one thing we are working on. Generative AI is a huge buzz. You will very soon see and be able to learn generative AI prompt engineering on Cloud Attack as well. So that is one thing that our team is working day in and day out, and I am very passionate about how it's turning out because again, it's one of the first in the market as far as I've seen that what we are doing. uh, People have done prompt engineering courses, this, that, but the level we are taking it at in terms of gamification, in terms of being able to deliver it through an app and how effective it is. And it's for all domains. You can be in sales, you can be in marketing, you can still learn prompt engineering through this feature. That's something we are putting our hearts and souls into days, nights into. So that is something you will be able to see very soon. Apart from that, education is of course going on. I'm looking forward to getting a degree as well, and also a couple of side hustles that I've started. I've started a fashion brand of my own called PNH Fashion, just to learn how the e-commerce sector and that particular industry works. It's just a low investment kind of a side hustle that I'm working on. So yeah, that is a couple of things in the future. I have a couple of ideas in the fashion industry too. How you can revolutionize certain existing things in streetwear because it's gaining a lot of popularity. So let's see. Probably I'll be working on that in the next coming couple of years too.
Awesome. So I feel that new uh, thing you are going to start is PNH Fashion. I got the link of the website as well, and I'm going to post it in the live chat as well for everyone to explore. Um, why this idea? Why PNH Fashion? You were good in education industry, right? Why you are interested in e-commerce or clothing now?
So there's two reasons. One, because clothing in e-commerce, I felt was the easiest. Second, if tomorrow, irrespective of education or any other field, if I want to launch a hardware product, e-commerce is very important. I've seen a lot of startups fail, not because their product was faulty, but because their e-commerce strategies were not to the mark, up to the mark. Marketing, sales. When I talk about something like Cloud Attack, when I talk about something like PNS Fashion, the entire ball game of marketing and sales is very different. If I were to sell CloudAttack as an app to someone and say, please download it, install it, you can learn, the way I would pitch is very different. Getting someone to buy a actual product, no matter how beneficial it is very different. Because there's price factor involved, most importantly. Here it's only time in terms of apps because it's free. But when I talk about e-commerce, the pricing and all of that becomes very important. That is one. Second, I noticed a problem. Like in CloudAttack, a lot of people are not interested in learning cloud because it's not catered to them, right? Even in fashion, I'm a huge fashion kind of enthusiast. I feel very confident when I wear the right fit or when I wear the right stuff that I like. So I felt that there's a very close connection to confidence and fashion, but there's no one really working a lot on that connection for teenagers. The streetwear brands that we see as well are people who are twice the age of teenagers, and they might understand the market, but not from a teenager's point of view. They understand it from what teenagers want today, but they would not know what they want tomorrow. And the overall shopping experience, right? Teenagers, you will never see teenagers scrolling through a lot of these e-commerce platforms as a whole and buying stuff, adding to cart and buying. Most of teenagers buy from Instagram ads, right? That's a very new thing. So how can I, make the entire shopping experience like Instagram? That is something that I'm kind of working on. Imagine you're doom scrolling products on Instagram and deciding what you want to buy, right? So the true essence of window shopping overall on your phone or on your e-commerce platforms. That's something that I'm currently also kind of exploring and working on. But that is why I kind of got into PNH fashion and fashion as well. Something I'm, as a hobby interested about too.
Awesome. So I wish you a luck, very good luck for this PNH fashion and along with your degree, bachelor's degree you're going to pursue
Thank you so much,
soon.
sir.
Um, More about is like overall, if we conclude the call and give a last, I would say, kind of an inspiration quote or something, if you would like to give to the audience, how they can get onto the same path, maybe creating their own unique path, but to motivate them, because I see a lot of undergrad school kids are just wasting their lot of time on Instagram, Snapchat, and all those things, just scrolling the reels. How we can make them inspired that okay, this is education is really important for you. Because personally, when my mother's father was actually my maternal father was saying me that do as much as education you can do on the highest level. I strongly
True.
feel on that as well. I just completed my MBA, going to pursue my PhD soon. So more about if you can highlight some tips and tricks for the people on the live stream, how they can focus on education more and rather than wasting their a lot of time on social media, and how maybe you can how they can use social media as a tool for growth.
Right, sir. I think the last part that you mentioned is very, very effective, and I think that sums it up all together as well. When we talk about social media as a tool, education, I think, if I rewind to when my dad was probably studying, it was all textbooks. It was a library, it was a textbook. Book open, you open a book and then you start reading line by line. That was what education was perceived as. Now, even when I talk about social media, I am on Instagram, like you mentioned, you saw a post on LinkedIn as well. I am also someone who's very active on social media, but I feel when I wouldn't say compare, but when I kind of, do that distinguishing activity of, okay, maybe how am I using social media, how my friends using social media, or how is anybody else using? I learn a lot from social media, right? More than books. Very honestly, I think I've learned from social media because you have current affairs, right? If you're following channels, I feel follow channels like, maybe Economic Times. There are so many Instagram accounts that give you daily feed on startup news, on so many other live happenings right now. That's very important to know what is happening and all of the innovation that's going on in the market. There's, if you're interested in your particular, domain, be it search like say marketing or HR, anything, right? Even if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's very important you follow the right content. So even if you're consuming reels, consuming content, you're consuming something that in the long term is useful to you. Even if that one reel sparks curiosity in you and you find your passion to do something else, I think that's your goal well achieved. And I wouldn't call that, even if you spend hours on Instagram before that, I wouldn't call it a waste of time because it served your purpose. It's given you some sort of good, whether it's today or tomorrow, but it's very important you're on the path to be able to attain it. That is one thing in terms of education. And sir, I think you put it very well. Congratulations on your MBA as well. That no matter, where you are, how much ever you have grown, education is very important. Because when your learning curve is like this, your growth is also, exponentially growing, not linearly. But the moment your learning curve flattens out, your growth doesn't stay there. Unlike your learning curve, it comes down. Right? You stop growing. That entire thing kind of starts degrading, and it just fades away over time. So it's very important that we learn. I try myself. I try to learn as much as I can. Even if I have school exams, I try to give as much concentration as possible on that as well. I will see how can I learn from that. I recently also discovered a passion in terms of research. First I was a person who was like, "Arey, why would I be? I'm a person who likes to be dynamic and agile as an entrepreneur. Why would I like to be confined in a lab?" And that's what my idea of research was. Over the time, I understood that research is coming out with new things and also advancing on existing technologies that are there. We always heard of AI. How does ChatGPT just one day come up? The overall infrastructure, if you look at it, it isn't very mind blowing, but the small tweaks that they did here and there is what makes it what it is today and the powerful tool that we know it as. And I think that typically and that very evidently came from research. It isn't just a midnight thought. Ki, acha, Sam Altman was like, "Subah utke ye karte hain." It took a lot of years of working in this field, building, failing, that he and his team were able to come up with something of this sort. So it's very important that we learn what is there right now to be able to build for tomorrow, because it's a progressive thing. It's a foundation. When you have this thing cleared out, you can build the technology for tomorrow, or you can build the technology for 5 years later as well, based on existing knowledge and problems understanding that you have right now. So it's very important that you learn. And to end it off with a quote is, I think, it's from a movie called Maharshi. It's a Telugu movie from Mahesh Babu. He says there are no full stops in success, there are only commas. Because success is not a destination, success is a journey. So no matter the roadblocks, no matter what sort of obstacles you face, just know that it is not where you want to reach, but it is the journey that you have along the way. So you enjoy the journey, you will get wherever you want to. But if you're going to have a lot of agony and a lot of complaints to yourself throughout the journey, then no matter what your milestone is, it's going to be 10x harder to get there. That's, I think, my personal experience, not only opinion, but that's, I think, how it works.
Wow, I just got inspired and I just got goosebumps because that quotation, success is not a destination but a journey to the future, that's actually in front of me and was part of my school exam sheets. So our school slogan was the same, but I like the first part. Success is not, success doesn't have full stop, it do have comma. So keep going. Wow, it's just an amazing. So with that, I would like to end up this call and thank you so much, Prajwal, for joining in a last minute call. I know like how much occupied you are in attending a lot of events and inspiring other people, but thanks for taking out time. And to everyone, I've just put up in the title at the rate IIMB. That's his channel on the YouTube. Feel free to explore his channel along with finding on Google. Simple. Don't find him on any social media platform. Just Google him and you will able to find him. With that, signing off. Thank you so much, Prajwal, and we'll
Thank you
connect
so much,
back.
sir. My pleasure being here.
Okay, done. Awesome. That was
Amazing.
how was it?
अमेजिंग, यानी एक्सपीरियंस बहुत अच्छा था